Good afternoon, everyone. I know that more people are on their way and are just, checking out from their desks and will be here, but we want to get started with this third in our series, DGS 101. This is A, B, and C. And so today you've arrived at C on contracting with California state government. We are honored and pleased to have Darvin Manuel with us. We've worked with Darvin through the years, and he's been a valuable partner. Joshua did the first two webinars and seminars, and now we're on number 3, and I think we're going to really dig in and get some valuable information. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to Darvin.
Thank you, Tom. Hope you can hear me just fine. Tom, give me a thumbs up if you can, just to make sure that I'm.
Not only am I going to give you a thumbs up, there's one more thing I want to say. If you have questions as you go along, would you type them in the chat? If they are pertinent to right where we are at certain pauses, we'll answer them then, but we will attempt to answer everyone before you leave.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. All right. As mentioned, this is the third part of our webinar series here. And today I'm going to be discussing contracting with California state government. This portion really is for the more advanced training in regards to hoping that everyone here is already certified and has the information they need to get certified. But if not, that's not a big deal. We will walk you through it. I'll share our consultation appointments that you can take part of and my email and contact information, just so we could walk you through the other parts of what you need to do to really take advantage of this certification program with the state of California. Again, my name is Darvin Manuel, and I am a business outreach liaison for the Department of General Services. Our unit is composed of the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services. So as mentioned, we're going to go ahead and dive right through, and I'm going to go over some topics with you regarding how the state buys. The different types of acquisition methods that take place when a solicitation or a contract is created, the different types of leverage procurement agreements there are, and why that's important. We'll also go over the solicitation formats and what this term known as commercially useful function is. And also, finally, we'll talk about the different resources that is there for you. Of course, SCORE and all the other nonprofit organizations that can help get you to the next level, because it is quite different on how you do business with the state and private entities. There's more protocols and steps. So we want to make sure you're comfortable in that process and that way, and that you know that you can lean on us for any questions. So we'll discuss how the state buys first. So when the state purchases a good or service, that the process is different, as many of you may already know, on how we do procurement. So an individual person, we think about the options and the decisions that involves making purchases. Well, with the state, it's quite different. The process for the state requires the expenditure of public funds and taxpayers' money. So we're going to be making sure that that money is being spent correctly, and the process is fair for businesses that procure the contracts. So there are various rules and laws and regulations that you will need to be aware of to achieve all that. And also, there's a specific process for purchasing goods and services and the way the state does it. So the biggest takeaway really that I want you to get out of this is that there are many different processes for purchasing goods and services with the state, and there are many norms and common procurement processes, and there are many expectations to those norms. You'll also hear a lot of times when doing business with the state that it depends. That's when talking about how procurement works. So we'll go through all the major parts and why they're important. And knowing the state procurement process will help you be more successful in finding contract opportunities and help you to be better equipped to respond to those contract opportunities. So again, the procurement process, there's several parts of the procurement process that a state buyer has to follow. The authority to conduct the procurement, the need of their department or office, the acquisition method, right? How they're going to make those purchases, and the solicitation format are all parts of the process that are important for a certified small business like yourself will have to know. So we'll go through each one and talk about it and see why these are relevant to you. Overall, this information will help you as a business owner become more easily, help you understand the procurement information more. So that way, you know how to conduct market research and find procurement opportunities. It can also help you look for what opportunities are out there, what fits with your specific business, and where you may or may not find those opportunities. Departments given a purchasing authority by the Department of General Services or from other sources, and the department need could be rather simple. So a department needs a good or service, and if they don't have that and they cannot perform it, they turn to the private sector, the businesses outside of the state to meet the needs of that contract. So the acquisition method and the solicitation format are a little more complicated, so we'll go through each of those also. But let's start with the acquisition method. So the acquisition method identifies how the purchase is going to be made and what the key activities within the procurement process should that they need to follow. So these are the steps that the state makes. When a buyer goes to purchase something, a good or service, they must decide which acquisition method they will use. This is determined by many factors, including what are they purchasing, how much money are they spending, what is their purchasing authority, what contracts already exist, if any. These are some of the common acquisition methods certified businesses like yourself will run into. We'll look at each one of these. So knowing the acquisition methods used to procure the goods and services a business sells helps that business find and pursue the right opportunities and make your marketing research easier. So we'll start with formal and informal competitive methods. So these highlights that you're seeing are some of the different options that will pertain to a contract. So when you see these, when you're doing your research, my purpose is for you to get a better idea of what that acquisition method means. All right, so the formal and informal competitive acquisition method this is the most common competitive acquisition method used to purchase in IT goods, in IT services, non-IT goods, and non-IT services. It is competitively bid. It follows the procurement process we talked about, which involves identifying the department need and developing the solicitation, which is typically written. And it is typically advertised on the Cali Procure website under California State Contracts Register for at least 10 days. It is advertised businesses with a UNSPSC on their registration profile that matches the UNSPSC on the solicitation will get notified. So if you have the right codes for this solicitation, you'll get information about these formal and informal competitive acquisition. Buyers can also reach out to the businesses directly. Having that same UNSPSC codes and relevant keywords on your business certification profile will allow the buyer to find the businesses and solicit them for these bids. It may allow for phone quotes based on dollar thresholds and also and will say so in your solicitation. It also includes an evaluation and award process where the buyer evaluates the bid response and makes an award based on evaluation criteria. So the evaluation criteria can be based on low cost or best value, depending on the solicitation and how it's written. Okay. Now let's go over the SB-BBBE option. And I feel like a lot of your opportunities can fall under this method. So this is another acquisition method state buyers use. It is exclusive to certified small businesses. So if you're already certified, you fit within this category. This includes also micro businesses. So if your certification falls under the designation of micro business, this option applies to you also. If a business is not certified, they are automatically excluded from the procurement process. So this is a huge reason why you want to get certified as part of the benefits. This method is used relatively for small procurements between $5,000 to $250,000 or up to $388,000 for public works. In the eyes of state procurement, that's relatively considered a low contract. So in this option, you only need 2 quotes from either 2 small businesses or 2 disabled veteran business and are certified DVBEs. You can't mix or match these options. It's either 2 SBs or 2 DVBEs. They are evaluated either as low cost or best value. So this may or may not be advertised because it's not required. And we strongly encourage departments to advertise to increase the opportunity for more certified businesses like yourself to respond. And buyers typically solicit bid responses from certified businesses by email. So again, it's emphasizing the importance of having a robust profile on your Cali Procure with UNSPSCs and keywords so the buyer can find you as a business. All right. The other acquisition method that I notice a lot of small businesses are involved in is the fair and reasonable acquisition method. This is the simplest and most straightforward acquisition methods for very small contracts under $10,000. The buyer needs only one bid that they determine to be fair and reasonable, and they can award the contract. While it is possible buyers may solicit bids from multiple businesses and receive and review multiple bids. Only one is required. So as long as it's considered fair and reasonable, it's a fair game. The buyer can use a variety of methods to make this a fair and reasonable determination, which includes price comparison, catalog or market pricing, controlled pricing, or historical pricing, or a cost benefit analysis. Those are their factors that they use. What's most important for the business to know for this acquisition method is that they need to be responsive when the buyer reaches out. And if a business is slow to responding to the buyer, another business may have already submitted their bid, and the buyer may award to the contract to the other business. And this again emphasizes the importance of having a robust profile in your Cali Procure, UNSPSCs, and keywords so the buyer can find you as a certified business. You also, on top of that, you really want to make yourself familiar with some of these buyers, and the best ways to have that is to have that relationship or rapport with the small business advocates. I'm sure in the past webinars that was discussed with you, but if not, you really need to understand where that listing is so that you get the opportunity for these buyers or these advocates to know who you are as a business. Okay, there's also what we refer to as emergency contracting, which is another acquisition method certified businesses should know about. We're familiar with emergencies, right? Like fires, floods, earthquakes, and public health emergencies, like for instance, the pandemic. Emergencies can include something less widespread, but still urgent and concerning. For instance, like a water pipe break in a state hospital. This situation is an emergency for the hospital and requires immediate response. And because the state must respond immediately, the solicitation is not considered competitive. It is not realistic in the example of forest fire or water pipe breaking in the hospital for the state to spend weeks writing up and releasing a competitive solicitation, receiving bids, evaluating those bids, and making an award. So the state has to act immediately. And in that case, the state purchases lots of different goods and services when dealing with emergencies, things that businesses don't always think of. So to support this inclusion of certified businesses like yourselves in these contract opportunities, we created what we refer to as the SBDVBE Emergency Registry. So this is separate from the Cali Procure website that you may be familiar with. It's used by state buyers to find certified businesses that are already willing and able to support the state in an emergency. So ready, willing, and available to support the state in an emergency. Buyers look for businesses when an emergency strikes and beforehand. So only certified businesses can register in the emergency registry. When businesses register, instead of using keywords and UNSPSC codes to describe what they sell, instead we select from a predetermined list of goods and services. This simplifies things for businesses and for the state buyers and builds confidence that the businesses that do sign up are a good fit for emergency contracting. So if your business is ready, willing, and able to support the state in an emergency, then I would urge you to sign up for this registry. If not, please don't register yourself. It's important that the buyers can, during an emergency, respond quickly and confidently to respond to an emergency. So these are some of the categories out there when you visit this link. There are the categories of base camp operations, debris removal, you name it, and any type of category that you could think of during an emergency, there's a listing for you. So businesses must select at least one category when registering. So to sign up for this, all you'll need is your certification number. So you need to be certified already to be qualified for this. Emergency categories, description of the products and services, your business address, and make sure that your contact information is valid and up to date, and that you're able to perform after hours. All right, Tom, did we have any questions before I move on to the next segment?
We're doing good, Darvin.
All right, great. So let's go ahead and move on to what we refer to as leverage procurement agreements. These are known as LPAs. So LPAs is an agreement between the state and one or more businesses to sell to specific goods or services to the state for agreed upon pricing, requirements, and other terms and conditions for the state to purchase those goods or services as needed. So DGS established these agreements, and other state departments use these agreements when purchasing, all while adhering to applicable policies, procedures, and user instructions. So LPAs may be available to local entities such as counties, cities, special districts, education systems, and other government entities. It varies from one LPA to another, and the user instructions of an LPA to determine who is allowed to use the LPA. And these agreements are awarded for $0 because they only set up the framework to allow the business to sell their products or services to the state, and for the state to purchase these goods or services as needed. When the LPA is set up, the state can project the dollar amount they expect to be spent through these LPAs over the length of the agreement, giving the business an idea of how much money they can expect to make. The LPAs enable streamlined purchases by removing the repetitive, resource intensive, costly, and time-consuming solicitation processes by departments, and they can last multiple years. So I bring this up so you can see the different options that does not refer to bidding on contracts. These are the different types of agreements that are available, that may be available not only to states, but counties, cities, and special districts and education systems. And these are the different type of agreement types that we have. There's the master agreements, statewide contracts, software licensing program, cooperative agreements, and CMAS, known as California Multiple Award Schedules. You'll find all this information through caliprocure.ca.gov. And we'll go through each one just so you get a better idea of what they are. So when you're looking and researching and you run into these, you'll understand how it may or may not pertain to your type of business. All right, so let's start with master agreements. So master agreements are contracts that are competitively bid when established. They're advertised in CaliProcure CSCR, and businesses will learn about the opportunity in the same way other public competitive solicitations are notified from CaliProcure and appearing in supplier searches conducted by buyers through keywords and UNSPSC codes. Master agreements may be awarded to multiple businesses, so it really depends on the contract and whether multiple awards is appropriate. If there are multiple awards, that will be made clear in the solicitation. When one or more businesses are awarded agreements, state departments and potentially other entities can use the agreement to purchase from any of those businesses as needed. So the process of purchasing may require offers In the case of contract awarded to multiple businesses, the buyer would get offers from those businesses as opposed to just selecting one of the businesses and making a purchase. This process of soliciting offers as a measure of competition amongst the businesses that are awarded the LPA. So these LPAs are available to any agency that expend public funds. If making an offer is required, departments must solicit offers from a minimum of 3 suppliers, including one from SBs and or DVBEs when it's available. All right, let's talk about some of the examples. These are for master agreements. These are on-site confidential destruction services, PPE waste and removal services, technology, digital and data consulting services, temporary medical staffing services, transit processor services, or unarmed security guard services. These are the examples you'll find in a master agreement. So statewide contracts are another type of LPA. They are competitively bid and are for commonly purchased goods. They are often done as single awards, although there are some multiple awards. They are usually established as mandatory for state departments to use. That means if a department wants to purchase a good that is on the mandatory statewide contract, they are required to purchase through the statewide contract. These are a few examples of goods purchased through the statewide contracts currently held by certified businesses. These are current as of February 14 of this year. So there is at least 83 certified businesses that hold a statewide contract. Could be more now that we're moving towards November. Okay, so another one is referred to as the Software Licensing Program, or SLP. Here at DGS, it negotiates the agreements with software publishers for the purchases of various software. These are agreements, and they're not negotiated or bid. This is different than all the other acquisition methods that I've discussed and LPAs we've discussed so far. Since they are negotiated, there are no solicitations for businesses to respond to, and nothing is advertised on Cali Procure's CSER. So it's a very different process or approach. Additionally, publishers do not sell directly to the state. Instead, they use resellers, which they alone authorize using and following whatever process and methods they choose. Publishers can authorize between 3 and 6 resellers. The state does not play any role in the selection of resellers. So if a certified business wants to become a reseller for a software publisher, that is an SLP agreement, that business will need to work with the publisher. And publishers can change resellers throughout the life of the agreement, up to twice a year. So when the state entities use the SLP agreements to purchase softwares from resellers, they must get offers from 3 businesses, making the act of purchasing software competitive amongst available resellers. Now, if only one business of the 3 responds, the buyer can still move forward with the purchase, though they have to justify it. So just some background on SLP. If they are any software publishers that want to get their own SLP agreement, you can contact the Software Licensing Program here at DGS at the email and phone number that is listed on the slide. So they have their own units and offices in reference to these programs. And these are some of those examples for the Software Licensing Program. So if this is your line of work or business, this is who you would need to contact. All right. Again, these are not negotiable, or these are not available through SLP. Standalone hardware, consulting, and telecommunications. All right, let's move on to this term known as cooperative agreements. So cooperative agreements establishes cooperative multi-state contracts where participating states may join together to achieve cost-effective and efficient acquisitions of quality products and services. Cooperative agreements are established from master agreements that are competitively bid by another entity, such as another state or a group of states working together. Cooperative agreements are established from competitively bid master agreements. They're also advertised in CaliProcure's CSER. So businesses can see it on CaliProcure and get notified about it from CaliProcure, and they can respond to it as though it were any other type of competitive solicitation. When a cooperative agreement is established by the state, other than California, it may still be advertised on CaliProcure's CSER. However, the advertisement is simply to direct the business to the procurement system of the other state, and the business must follow the procurement processes of that state. So these are a few examples of what can be purchased through current cooperative agreements held by certified businesses. Okay, I'm going to move on with California Multiple Award Schedules, known as CMAS. So CMAS are another type of LPA available to state agencies and also to local governments to procure various goods and services. As the name suggests, getting a CMAS does not involve competitive bidding or negotiation, but instead requires a business to apply for a schedule. So a schedule is a list of goods and services. You may be familiar with schedules. They are many schedules, and they are created and maintained by the federal government. So California mirrors or piggybacks off of the federal program to create the California Multiple Award Schedules. Schedules also contains pre-established pricing and terms and conditions. So to become a holder of a schedule, a business must apply for it. Business does not have to sell everything listed on the schedule to get it. It just needs to sell something on the schedule and to meet the requirements of that schedule. Because this is an application process, multiple businesses can and do hold the same schedule. The result is a pool of suppliers that the state can solicit offers from. This creates competitions amongst the pool of schedule holders when the state or another entity goes to procure goods and services through CMAS. That means that a business should still treat this like it's a competitive environment, right? When marketing yourself is going to be very important. Pricing can also be a key. CMAS sets a maximum pricing, but you as a business can offer lower rates, based on your business practices, which may be advantageous for the business. So what I'm trying to say is that you still need to create that rapport with the specific state agency that you are targeting, because having the CMAS and being on the system does not guarantee you a agreement or it doesn't guarantee for you a chance to win this agreement. You still have to create the rapport and sell yourself to the state. And this is free also. There's no cost to this. These are some of the examples of what can be purchased through CMAS schedules and what's being currently held by certified state businesses like yourself. So if you're not seeing these types of bids through notifications, chances are you may want to focus some of your efforts to CMAS, because that's where office supplies are being handled, automotive repairs, business administration services. This is the type of work you do. This is something you may want to consider also, this program. So what's not included in CMAS, if you're considering it, is listed here: security guard services, legal services, public work projects, engineering and architectural services, facility planning, medical services, registered nursing and human resources. And wanted to share with you the steps for CMAS. I'm going to share the slides with Tom, so if you're not getting it right off of the slides here, don't worry about it. We'll get you this. We'll send this to you in a PDF file, and you'll have all the information you need if we weren't able to answer your questions here today. Okay, and this is a list of information the business owners should have ready when they apply for CMAS. Having this information ready ahead of time makes the whole process easier. All right, so next I just wanted to show you like where to find it in Cali Procure. And if you're interested in these LPAs, you'd click to search for state contracts, leverage procurement agreements. And then similar to the search for solicitations in the California State Contract Register, what I'm referring to as CSCR, this search is for existing leverage procurement agreements. There are various criteria here that you'll need to find, or that you can search by. Tom, any questions about LPAs?
Nothing, Darvin.
All right, so let's go ahead and move towards this notion of non-advertised solicitations. This is a common question. So if a solicitation or a contract opportunity is not advertised, how would you learn about it, right? That I always hear this. How do I find it? Well, chances are you wouldn't. The solicitation or contract opportunity will find you. The buyer who is in charge of the procurement finds your company and decides to solicit a response from you. And the way the buyer finds your company is through Cali Procure. So it's very important that you know how to navigate through Cali Procure, that your information is up to date, and that you have a robust Cali Procure profile. It's still important for you to get in front of advocates so that they know who you are, you're advertising and marketing yourself. But for the most part, this is where they go through. It's the fairest way to give all certified small businesses a chance. Okay. Any questions on the last topic we mentioned?
Nothing showing up, Darvin.
All right, so let's move on to solicitation formats. Now that we've finished talking about the different types of acquisition methods, the ones that I mentioned are the ones that pertain to you as a certified small business most. So let's talk about these other formats that you might hear and that you may already be familiar with in your line of work. These are some of the common solicitation formats certified businesses can expect to encounter. The format of a solicitation is influenced by the acquisition type and the acquisition method used, which we discussed earlier, and the dollar amount, complexity of the procurement, and all the risk factors. So the solicitation format also contributes to how the procurement will be conducted and what the buyer expects from the business that's submitting a bid. So knowing the solicitation format can help you as a business understand these parts of the procurement better. And so it'll allow you to access how your company fits to these solicitations and how you can be successful in responding to the solicitation. So we'll go over some of these terms. The first one is RFQ, request for quotation. So RFQ is the most common written solicitation format used to conduct informal competitive acquisitions. The RFQ is straightforward, and this is for procurement format that identifies what is needed and order requests a proposed solution and tends to be a low in risk and complexity. So informal solicitations for goods and IT only, simple to explain, is the lowest complexity and often accomplished via email. So it's for low cost or value effective best value, used for LPA such as CMAS and MSA. The invitation for bid, IFB, is a written solicitation document used to solicit bids from responses for non-IT goods or for IT goods and or services where suppliers are asked to provide a bid to the state's known and detailed clear requirements. So a invitation for bid is also used for to obtain simple, common, or routine non-IT services that may require personal or mechanical skills where little discretion is used in performing the work, such as routine pest control, equipment maintenance, uniform rentals. An invitation for bid can also be used for public works projects. So the requesting agency knows exactly what they want. They just need bids. For an IFB, the state provides a complete statement of work, known as SO, describing everything that the state needs the business to accomplish, including all work supplies, personnel, and timeframes. An IFB is typically awarded by low cost. However, there may be other exceptions. Request for offer, request for proposal. RFPs are used to obtain complex services in which professional expertise is needed and may vary, where different methods and approaches may be applied during performance. These examples will include professional services such as auditing, specialized data collection, and performance requires varying methods or approaches, but are not innovation or creativity. The methods and approaches used may not differ significantly from one proposal to another, which allows cost to be used as the deciding factor for making the award. So the statement of work is fairly well defined in terms of services or functions that must be performed, and as for the timeframes that are required. Cost proposals are submitted in a separate sealed. These are not scored. So the cost proposals are submitted in a separate sealed envelope apart from the narrative proposal. Narrative proposals are reviewed, evaluated, and scored for compliance with format, content, and qualification requirements. So that's for request for proposal. Another term that you may hear is request for offer. So this is done when purchasing against an LPA. A request for offer is a document sent to LPA contractors, which contains requirements for a specific transaction and requests a specific response or offer. The individual user instructions of the LPA will indicate whether additional offers are required. So an example of this is a consultant with a CMAS gets an RFO to provide IT consulting services. The business responds as though other CMAS holders, and the buyer evaluates the responses and awards that contract. So for LPA transactions greater than 5,000, the department develops the request for offer with states current terms and conditions attached to be agreed upon by the supplier when they submit their bid, quote, or offer. The RFO must request the supplier to provide retail price along with their offer. And that is all I have for the different types of RFOs and terms that you may encounter. Tom, did you have any other?
We do have
questions?
a question,
Okay,
Darvin.
yes,
For consulting firms, is RFQ the most appropriate?
yes. For what did they mention? What type of consulting firm?
Can you bring that up, JKHCCC? Just a general category. Human resources.
For human resources?
Yeah.
You know, that I'm gonna have to check up on. I would say that would probably be the most common, since that's the most common written solicitation formats that's being used for competitive acquisitions. But you know, I'll respond to that separately just to make sure I'm giving you the right information.
And specifically career coach. So
Career coach, yeah.
you're
It's
going to put
most
your
likely.
contact information up.
Yeah,
So they could
I'll share
email
that
you
at the
directly.
end. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So we talked about those different terms. Now I'd like to.
Oh, Darvin, I have another question. May I?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I own a video production company and have worked with the county before. Do these procedures apply to my service as well? Last week we talked about how the counties recognize DGS.
They do accept our certification depending on the county, right? There we have what we refer to as reciprocity partners. But even if they meet the state certification process, their procurement process can still be different. So their terms and procedures can be different. I would look into their website and also speak to someone directly just to make sure that you're meeting their qualifications.
Thank you, Darvin.
Yes. Any other questions? We could, again, we could ask questions at the end and also follow up with us. I'm going to share with you how you can make an appointment with us to answer some of the questions that may not be pertaining to any of the information that I've discussed during this presentation. So feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about what it means to be contract ready. And there are some things that you need to consider to determine if you are indeed state contract ready. So one question you want to ask is, do you meet the requirements before you do a lot of the work to submit a bid for a solicitation or try to get an LPA? Make sure you meet all the requirements. I would hate for you to go through this whole process and then find out ultimately you cannot do the job. I've heard that, I've seen that. It's been awarded to you, you didn't read the terms, and later you find out that that is not a contract or a job you can actually fulfill. And that could look bad upon you as a small business working with the state, because a lot of these guys talk amongst themselves, and you want to make sure your reputation meets, and that they don't look at your business negatively. The other factor that I always hear small businesses run into is the financial capacity. So note that the state often pays after you complete the work, not before. And it can take up to 45 days to make a payment. So you need to make sure you have the financial capacity to complete the contract. You may have to talk to these non-profit organizations. Maybe SCORE can have some of that answers for you to get you financially set, or have the resources to share to get you there. And can you deliver on the contract? This is really asking about your capacity to complete and fulfill a contract. You need to assess if you can do this job, or if the contract is too large for your business to handle right now. Also consider eligibility and evaluation criteria. Thinking about your past performance, your required, expertise and skills, and the capability of your business, meaning are you eligible and qualified for the job? Some quick tips that I'd like to share, just based on some of the advocates and buyers that I've heard from, is do not let your certification lapse. I know that might sound really simple. It's good for 2 years, so you want to make sure that you keep up to your day and renew it when it's needed. Chances are they're going to send you an email to let you know that your certification is up or is lapsed, but you're still going to be held accountable to make sure that your certification is up to date. And keep your profile information current. Make sure that you hold any and all certifications, licenses that you need to perform the job or the work, and make sure you have your needed insurance depending on the type of work you do, right? You may need to have insurance. Generally, insurance requires when performing services for state, but not for goods or products. So I have a checklist that you could refer to. And these are some of the more common mistakes that we're hearing small businesses make when going after contracts. So just make sure you're reading through all these solicitations. It's one of my biggest advice for someone that's just starting out. And here's some tips for success. If you have any questions at all, always ask them early on. You're going to have that contract administrator, that point of contact, those advocates. You want to make sure that you have that communication and that you're asking your questions in time. Don't wait till the end of the bid to ask these questions. Always read the solicitation documents, make sure you understand them. And as much as we want to help you, at the end of the day, you're going to need to be able to read the solicitation and understand what it says and what is needed of you. What I'm trying to say is there's only so much we can do, and we can't help you with what you could bid. There are other resources that can give you advice on that, but it's more of like a conflict of interest on our end as state employees. So if you secure a state contract, congratulations. It also means that you're legally bound to deliver on that contract. So if you do, not do good business, that that reputation again can follow you. Failing on a state contract will hurt your reputation and make it more difficult to get another contract after that. We mentioned this before, but many jobs do not pay until the work is done. So have up to 45 days after receiving an undisputed invoice to do the work. Think about how your business will stay financed during that time. And that's pretty much what I have as far as tips and for success. Did we have any questions at all pertaining to that?
Any questions you want to type very fast?
And we'll open it up to questions at the end. It looks like we may have some more time here.
Good.
All right. Also wanted to touch on commercially useful function. This applies to all small business and disabled veteran business enterprise certified firms bidding and participating in the contract. And this is listed for SBs and DVBs as well as to the SBs and DVBs that substitute the listed contract terms. So the emphasis is on, regardless of the procurement approach or payment method used, you need to perform a commercially useful function. Your business does not perform what we refer to as CUF if you're an actual participant in the transaction, contract, or project to which funds are passed in order to obtain the appearance of a small business or DVBE participation, not being used to perform the work as stipulated in the bid, and no longer used to provide the goods and services listed in the initial bid response. So the main takeaway is that you want to be able to do the job that you were hired to do, and that you're not just taking advantage of this program to appear as a small business, right? Or to pass off the work to a prime. There are repercussions or loss of certification that involves in that, and also even penalties. And we just want to make sure that what you say you do is the work you actually do. Again, I mentioned also the different resources out there. We have the small business development centers. This is more for new businesses. So depending on where you are as a business, you can reach out to the SBDC for business consulting, planning, marketing, and access to capital. Apex accelerators, formerly known as PTAC, for government contracting, and of course, SCORE for business mentorship. So in review, we discussed how the state buys, the different acquisition methods, the LPAs, different types of solicitation formats being used. We touched on commercially useful function and the different resources. If you'd like to stay up to date with state programs, events, and any regulations, we often post on LinkedIn. So please follow us at linkedin.com/company/DGS-OSDS. You'll hear about events that are going on. It can involve state agencies that you're targeting and the buyers or advocates that will be in attendance of those events. So it's going to be important to maintain that rapport, develop those relationships, and understand how to navigate through our system. I mentioned earlier that you could actually schedule a consultation. So if you missed our webinar on Introduction to State Contracting, you are not registered yet or certified, you could schedule a consultation. You will need help updating your Cali e-Procure profiles, or you want to learn how to find a contract opportunity. Schedule a consultation with us. We'll have a live person, staff member from our team that can walk you through that whole process. You can scan it, the QR code here, or we'll send you that PDF file that I'll be sending to Tom. Again, thank you so much for participating in our webinar. We value your time, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to meet with us. I hope this was helpful for you. Again, my name is Darvin Manuel, and I'm with DGS, Office of Small Business and BVB Services. Feel free to connect if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Darvin. One question was, we'll be sending out the PDFs. You answered that again. I don't really know if the PDFs for the last two have gone out. We have been going through some office transitions, but we will be getting those to you. Also, link to the recordings of all three of these so you can review. We also want to say a couple people are thanking you, and we have some questions again. Darvin did say that it could be, well, I'm gonna combine these, Darvin. Everybody wants to know when they're going to get paid. One really good question is that if it's a 2-year service contract with a lump sum pay, does that mean it will not be paid until after the 2 years are complete? And then the other question is quite a bit different, really.
Mm-hmm.
After you are invoicing, after the job is done, how long does it generally take? Why don't you take that one first? And
the first one, it still will depend, right? There are instances, of course, in the type of project it is, where they may need to pay in advance, but for the most part, you're not paid until the job is complete. And I want to say that there is a penalty if they are not able to pay you after 45 days. Is in regards to the Prompt Payment Act, and it's after 45 days. I could send some information to you on that. So if you wouldn't mind, send me an email at darvin.manuel@dgs.ca.gov, and I could answer that in fuller detail.
I suppose there could be some contracts that were written with benchmarks in mind, but
right.
Okay, so that answers those two questions. Let me, Jason is thanking us. Thank you. Cheryl has already thanked us. Thank you, all of you who are thanking. Let me see what else is up here. Nothing in the Q&A. I think we've answered all of those in the chat. Any other questions? Does anyone feel that they would prefer to voice their question? You can raise your hand and we can unmute you. Okay, here's a question. Thank you so much for the valuable information. Well, we thank you for thanking Darvin and SCORE. Please keep in mind that some of this can be overwhelming. Darvin has given you the access to contacting his office. Also, we have Joshua Hoke in the area who is working out of that office. He's a community liaison, outreach liaison, and has been involved with this series. But SCORE is here to help you cut through some of the red tape of finding where you can find the answers. And when you're doing a capability study, it helps a lot if you've already done a business plan and a financial projections worksheet. So we really recommend you get a mentor, especially since those of us who do this, we do it just out of the love of you getting business started. And so there's no charge to you for that. And if you're not on our local mailing list, that would be to your advantage, because we are constantly posting webinars that may be of interest to you. And they include specific things like security, online security, also marketing, how to use Google, HR specific webinars, and we would love to have you involved with those. So centralvalley.score.org, it's in the chat, or score.org /mentor. I'm not sure how it's actually put out, but I typed it. And I think that brings us to a close, Darvin. It's always good to see you, and always enjoy working with you, and appreciate the hard work you did to put this together. Very valuable information. And I want to thank all of those of you who participated, both the 19 of you that were here live and those that will be watching later. I think we had 75 registrants. And those of you who are looking for a free lunch, next time. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tom. Great seeing you.
Okay. You guys are free to go get your lunch now, and we'll see you all later. Okay. All right, Darvin, thank you. We'll see you